This is your Weather Extreme video for Saturday, February the 24th. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. Looks like a stormy day in store, especially to our northwest. Satellite image this morning shows we have a good deal of clouds over the northern two-thirds of the state of Alabama. And on the surface map, we're watching a developing low-pressure system over primarily Oklahoma, with a front trailing all the way from southern New England all the way down across the middle south, or the mid-Mississippi River Valley and into Texas. The 500 millibar chart shows that we have a nice trough coming out of the Four Corners area, and that is going to be going negatively tilted and moving out quite rapidly today. For us at the surface, we see temperatures are very mild. As a matter of fact, just plain downright warm across Alabama, with temperatures just about over the whole state in the 60s. Radar showing a few showers, but that's not the event. The big event's going to be back to the west. The storm watch warning map shows that all that purple and pinks that you see are winter weather advisories. The greens that you see all the way from northeast Texas all the way up to Pennsylvania, those are generally flash flood watches. And the reds you see in extreme eastern Oklahoma and northwestern Arkansas are flash flood warnings. QPF-wise, we're looking at a good deal of rain with this. As a matter of fact, on the order of about 2 to 5 inches over the middle Mississippi River Valley and extending down into the southeast. Taking a little bit closer look for the 5 days ending at 12Z on Thursday morning, we're looking at on the order of about 2 to 3, maybe even 3.5 inches of rain for some locations. Because of that, the WPC has issued a high risk for heavy rains along and ahead of that frontal system and the surface low, and that is for day 1. For day 2, as the front settles into central Alabama, we have a slight risk for heavy rains. Storm Prediction Center has outlooked an enhanced risk for severe weather, including the risk for tornadoes and damaging straight-line winds over the what I'd call the middle Mississippi River Valley, mid-south area centered on Memphis. That is surrounded by a slight risk that affects the northern and northwestern quadrant of Alabama. There's a little bit closer look. Just stays just to the west and northwest of Tuscaloosa and Birmingham, but includes places like Huntsville, Florence, Decatur, over into Lamar County, Vernon, Marion County, and Hamilton, and the Double Springs and Winston County, to name a few. For day 2, there's a marginal risk as that front settles down into the South Alabama. On day 3, they're back to just thunderstorms. The 06Z GFS model run this morning, and there's our big ridge that's been helping us, but here comes that big trough out of the Four Corners area, and as it does, the low will develop nicely. Warm front all the way up into the Ohio River Valley, and cold front coming down into the eastern part of Texas. Taking an intermediate time, this is at midnight. You can see still the weather just barely getting to Alabama, and that's probably good because that's going to help to allow things to decrease just a little bit. This is the Cape values at 6 p.m. on Saturday. That's later today. And you can see the values basically on the order of 700 to 900 joules per kilogram over Mississippi. We notice that it does diminish, but it's still sufficient. It's still around 200 to 300, and that's at midnight. And then when we get into the first thing on Sunday morning, we can see that there's still some Cape there, so a good deal of instability. Looking at the shear storm relative helicity values, you can see that they're very high right along that front in northern Mississippi. This is around midnight tonight, and you can see those values peaking almost to around 400 to 450, and then as we get into the morning hours on Sunday, you can see the values do come down. They're still fairly sufficient, though, even down into the Birmingham area for the possibility of some severe weather. We continue on and look at the map, the upper air chart for Sunday, and you can see that we're still in still under the influence of that big ridge over Florida. And so the front becomes parallel to the flow pretty quickly on Sunday. So that means a pretty good deal of rain for us. The second trough comes by us on Monday, and that should help to finally push the rain a little bit further to the south and get it out of our area. We come under pretty strong ridging there on Tuesday, and so that keeps us dry with a high-pressure system over the outer banks of North Carolina. But you can see it's good moisture coming up into Texas and Oklahoma. The next storm system comes out of the Four Corners area on Wednesday, and that one, interestingly enough, the front comes back as a warm front, but as the surface low develops over north central Oklahoma there, we develop a cold front down into South Texas. And because of all these dynamics, SPC has for day 5 outlooked a risk for severe weather over parts of northeast Texas, southern Arkansas, and primarily northern Louisiana. The system really does develop, as you can see here, as it heads for Chicago, with the front trailing down into our area. So it does look like, and this is an intermediate time. This is actually Wednesday evening at midnight or very early Thursday morning. That rapidly moving trough gets into the Great Lakes by Thursday, and so that takes the surface low up there into the central Great Lakes, but swings the front through our area, so we should be drying out in the latter part of Thursday. We come under a ridge on Friday, so it looks like a beautiful day. Temperatures probably around the 60-degree mark, so not quite as warm as we've seen. We stay under that ridge on Saturday, and so that looks like another day with a high around 60, 61. Looking out into Voodoo Country, we do see a pretty substantial change coming about. Now, you know how these changes are. Sometimes they're there, and sometimes they disappear. But looks like we come more under a northwesterly flow pattern as another trough begins to develop over the eastern part of the country on the 6th of March. By the 8th of March, wow, it's really developed. We really hope you didn't put those winter coats away just yet. And then by the time we get out to the very end, 372 hours out of the 11th of March, we see that they're still holding on to the trough over the eastern part of the country, but also trying to develop a strong ridge there. So kind of a little bit of a active-looking pattern. That'll do it for the Weather Xtreme video. Be sure to check back for notes on Alabama's weather today as we watch the development of this severe weather situation. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. Have a great day and Godspeed.